Still of the night, I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you. You're the one I can't let.
Mma plunged herself into her work trying to forget Uche. During the day, she busied herself by working till Helen or Phyllis dragged her home. Once she got home, she hid in her studio, trying to avoid looking into the living room where Uche sat the last time he was in her house. She didn't come out of the studio till the wee hours of the morning, and even that was spent tossing and turning and missing Uche. And by the time she woke up, she would be tired and limp. Then she would drag herself to the bathroom to get ready for the day. Most days she went without food, because each time she entered her kitchen, the first thing she would see was standing in that room with Uche, happily cooking for him. At work, she preferred the enjoyment her work gave her than searching for food. It was Helen who always came to her rescue. She would bring her some takeaway each time she was coming back from lunch. Uche never called, though she denied it even to herself, but she waited silently in endless torment for his call to come, to apologize to her and tell her he had realized he loved her too much to let her go. That was the secret thought that kept her going and that prevented her from going totally insane. She wondered what he was doing then. Was he suffering the way she was? No, she didn't think so. If he was in the least way suffering a little bit of what she was feeling, he would have called her by then. If for nothing, to stop this burning pain, the pain which felt like her heart was ripped into two, pushing her to fall into nothingness, where she would not think or feel, into oblivion where there'll be no painful, foolish imagination of him with another woman who wouldn't mind giving him everything he wanted in bed and out of it, to fill her with livid rage. She wiped her tears rolling down her cheeks. She wondered when she was going to get over him. Somehow she knew that might not be possible. She was in love with Uche Okoha, and it seemed as if God created only him for her. She wondered if it would not be wise to go to him. She loved the man, but he cared only for her body, and if she accepted that and went back to him, what would happen when her body tired him? It was better this way, she assured herself. It might look impossible then, but with time she would get over him. She hastily wiped her face as the doorknob moved, and Helen entered bearing a takeaway. Emma smiled kindly at the girl. "Thank you, Helen, but you shouldn't have bothered. Someone has to bother about you since you couldn't care less about yourself." Helen sounded a bit angry, and Emma understood. "You are a good friend, Helen. Thank you," she said and opened the food. The aroma of the food wafted through her nose. Her stomach growled, and she sighed in anticipation. "Mma, what's wrong?" Helen startled her by asking. "Nothing. The food is perfect. I can't believe how hungry I am." "That is not what I mean. For the past couple of weeks you have been acting like you are on a suicide mission." "Well, it's nothing but dear old mood swing. You know I have bitten more than I can chew with this business." She smiled, trying to ease Helen's concern. "But really, I am fine now. And that means anytime you are going for lunch, call me. We should go together. If you are sure. Look, you can tell me anything and it won't get out of this door." "I know, but there is nothing to tell." She managed another smile and went back to her food. And here I was worrying, thinking Prince Charming has called his signature tune. Emma managed a laugh to cover up the instant pain that hit her. She didn't get angry with Helen. There was no way the girl could have known the kind of pain any reference to Uche's name brought her. It was even more shocking that everyone believed her relationship with Uche was short-lived. "Is that what you call him now?" she asked Helen jovially. "Well, you would agree with me that the guy is the modern-day Prince Charming, and both of you make a good fairy tale couple." Mma hardly smiled this time around. She was concentrating on swallowing the pain in her throat so it doesn't come out in tears. "I guess you're right. But you also mentioned his signature tune, Helen. I'm well prepared for that could happen anytime. My guess is if he's still with you this long, he might not be going anywhere else in a long time, Helen answered. Mma chuckled and bent to hide her face and concentrated on the food. I'd better leave you to eat. See you later. As soon as she left, Mma breathed a sigh of relief, calling herself different kinds of fool for not coming out and telling Helen that Uche had already called his signature tune. But it was really shameful to sit there and admit to Helen that Uche dumped her. Her pride would not let her descend that low. Very soon they would find out anyway. Uche would start dating other women and he would take them to places people would see them and the social media would be ablaze with it. Then Helen and every other person would find out the truth. So she was a fool for not opening up to Helen who had nothing but her best interest at heart. She sighed and pushed the food away. Then she smiled, because she would remain the only one who refused to sleep with him, even after knowing how rich he was. Somehow he would always remember the one who was different, the one who didn't let his wealth and position sway her. Maybe one day he will realize, and probably it will be too late. Uche should be the one mourning her loss. Any man who'd finally married her would have peace of mind. He could completely trust her, and she would spend the rest of her life making him happy. These Uche had lost because he couldn't see beyond his loss. Yes, he should be the one mourning because he had lost a virtuous woman whom all his money could never buy. God help him because he might just end up with one of those women he dated often. Meanwhile, Uche was at work. He had been listening to two men talk about a business plan for the past 1 hour, and he still did not comprehend what they were talking about. He had this irritating headache that had refused to go away since he started a couple of weeks back when he walked out of Mma's life. He rubbed his forehead and tried to concentrate on what the men were talking about, but the headache grew even more severe. He could still see the fallen look on her face as she watched him say hurtful words to her. He shook his head and tried to block her out of his mind. He reached for his phone and called Star. She should take over this meeting. Probably she could make some sense out of what the men were saying. Besides, he needed to rest. He had the feeling that he was coming down with some kind of ailment and he needed to see his doctor. Just at that moment, Star entered. She took one look at Uche and understood what was going on. She had been suspecting that he was unwell and she worried that he was working himself to death. But anytime she tried to talk to him, he brushed her aside. She could very well see that whatever was bothering him had reached its limit. Sorry, gentlemen. You are going to have to finish up this meeting with me. Mr. Okoha has another pressing appointment he can't miss. The men nodded, and Uche smiled at her secretly and stood up. He nearly sat back down because all of a sudden he felt dizzy. But his stubborn will kept him from staggering as he walked out of the room. Star followed him because somehow she knew something was wrong. Uche, she called as he was about to press the button for his private elevator. He frowned at her. Are you alright? She asked with concern. I'm fine, he replied and entered the elevator. His private elevator opened to the underground car park. He knew what he needed. A weekend at Eden Castle. Could it be that he was suffering from heartbreak? He stopped, shocked. He didn't love the girl to begin with, but it was glaring right there before him that he was missing Mma. He shuddered again. He couldn't believe it. He was actually thinking that marrying her would not be such a bad idea. She was not the kind of woman he would have picked out for a wife. He had always thought his wife would be attractive, soft-spoken, gentle, and well-bred. Her manners would be impeccable, and she would have gone to an expensive finishing school. He wanted a woman who would be content being his wife, handling his personal and social life, and keeping out of his business. Mma was the exact opposite. She would not be content being just his wife, mother, and a great hostess. No, she was ambitious, and she knew what she wanted and how to get it. Those were the qualities he preferred in a mistress rather than a wife. He laughed out loud as he threw his briefcase at the back of the car. He should have realized he was only fooling himself when he had separate qualities for a wife and a girlfriend. He got into his car and squeezed his eyes shut, rubbing them. He was not missing Mma. It was just this irritating headache, he told himself. Once he took care of it, he would be fine. Mma opened the door for Eva, and she smiled in spite of her pain. She didn't want to see Eva. She didn't want anybody reminding her of Uche. "Hello," Eva said, smiling. "Your house is cozy and beautiful." "Thank you. I know it's nothing compared to yours." "Oh, there is a difference. Everything here you worked for, so you can truly enjoy their value. Sit down. May I remind you that if you're not working hard at the bank right now, you probably might not afford all that." "You are right. But my trust fund alone is more than enough if I didn't ever work." She smiled at Mma. "Sometimes I envy women like you who didn't have everything given to them. I am sure you didn't come here to bore me with regrets. So what do I offer you? I made a mean pot of banga stew and I could boil ofada rice. No wonder my brother likes you a lot. I can't cook, yet Charles thinks the moon and sun rise and set in my eyes." She smiled. "But you're right. I came here because I was thinking we should hang out tonight." Mma was taken aback. Why would Eva be asking her? She was sure it was not for lack of friends. She was sure the girl felt that she and Uche were still seeing each other, and probably was trying to draw her into their circle of friends. Mma heaved a sigh, looking for a way to reject the invitation without sounding rude. "Please don't say no. Please. This is one of those rare evenings at the bank I get some time off, and I really want to enjoy it," Eva pleaded. "I thought you might want to spend it with Charles. He will be thrilled. He is out of town. Please say you would go, please." Mma smiled at the girl's pleadings. "Okay, but it takes me ages to get ready. I need to know where exactly we are going." "It's a pool party with lots of interesting people." It was at the tip of her tongue to ask if Uche would be there, but she stopped because she would only succeed in pricking Eva's curiosity. She didn't want the girl asking uncomfortable questions about her relationship with her brother. "Just grab a jeans and tank top and wear some mean bikini. You might never know." Mma turned to look at her. "Seriously, where are we going to?" "Let's say I like surprises, but don't worry, you will enjoy it. Wouldn't it be so nice to relax and be yourself without my jealous brother scaring off all the other guys?" Mma stared at her with curiosity. "Why do I get the feeling I'm not going to enjoy this?" "You know Uche is out of town. He should be somewhere in Europe, but I'm sure you know that already. Charles is out of town too. I'm just saying we should do something more exciting than missing them." Eva laughed, and Mma smiled. Truly the girl was spoilt. But she was right about one thing though. It was high time she did something more exciting than wallowing in self-pity and missing Uche. "You want to come help me look for what to wear?" Mma asked Eva, and the two of them left for Mma's bedroom. Mma decided she was going with her car after what happened with her friends the last time she hung out. But Eva wouldn't hear of it. She insisted that where they were going was very safe and she would bring her home. Mma wasn't up to much argument, so she agreed. She saw the other part of Eva as she drove. For someone who was in the mood to party, she was unbelievably careful and patient with other road users, and very quiet as opposed to the talkative female who convinced her to come party. "I like driving at night because there is no traffic or impatient drivers. You can just let the car glide without hearing curses behind you." Strange, because other people I know enjoy driving at night because it is about the only time they can speed. They love the feeling of flying that comes with it. Eva smiled and made a turn, and she found herself in Uche's neighborhood. "Don't tell me we are partying in this neighborhood. I asked you to bring a bikini. Where else would we find a private beach? I think you should tell me what this is all about." "Okay, I just want to use my brother's house since he's out of town. It's going to annoy him when he comes home for sure, but who cares? Turn the car around, please. If you want to annoy your brother, fine, but I don't want to be a part of it. Eva smiled. Don't worry, I will not mention your name if it goes wrong. Besides, Richie already knows I will be here today. In fact, he expects it. Calm down, sugar. They drove into the compound and Emma's heart lodged in her throat as she remembered the last time she was here. She could feel the pain tearing at her heart. She should tell Eva the truth. She should let the girl know that she was no longer seeing her brother. Then again she reasoned. What was the point? Richie wasn't around. And besides, she didn't want to be the jilted girlfriend in presence of all the other girls who might have had something with Uche before or who were still dreaming. Tonight she wanted to be the envy of the other girls. You go on, let me park the car, then I will join you. Okay. Mama stopped as a thought occurred to her. You never told me how many guests you have here. Just like 5 of us, all girls, and every single one of them crushing on my brother. And they are dying to meet you, the one who won the battle. I'm not sure I like that, being the object of scrutiny and envy. Can I go home, please? Not a chance. Besides, we're here already. Are you not curious about the kind of girls Uche may have been attracted to in the past? Not really, she smiled at Eva. Oh, quit being a chicken and run along while I park this car. Mama walked up to the door and knocked. She couldn't believe she was here, in Uche's house. What temporal insanity drove her to do this? Was she so desperate to be near him? What would he think when he heard she was one of those partying in his house in his absence? She didn't care what Eva said. She was leaving. This was stupidity. She was not going to let Uche think she couldn't survive without him. No way. She had got some dignity. But the door was suddenly opened and she had to turn back to the person at the door, and the person turned out to be Uche. She stared at him astonished. He too was looking at her surprised. Mama turned back to Eva, but she was already driving away and waving at them. What in the world are you two up to? At that point, she would have given anything for the ground to open and swallow her.
I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you. You're the one I can't let go. In your arms I find my home. Love, sweet love, it's you I'm dreaming